Welcome to Dark Horse Matters, the show about people, their passions, and their pursuit toward happiness. I'm your host, Bev Matayoshi, and my passion is talking to people from all walks of life about dreams, what motivates them, what fulfills their lives, and what inspires them, because it's so important. Life is too short to be wasting it on just being on autopilot existing. So, purpose, I truly believe that purpose is the recipe for true happiness. So, that's what this show is about. And today, I just want to thank you guys for all the support. Everybody has been so great and very encouraging. So, but if you're new to the show, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we have a new guest. And every guest inspires me more and more. So I'm super excited about this. And today is a real treat. We have a really amazing guest that I look up to so much because he is one of the most incredible leaders I've met recently. And it's I feel so blessed that I get to, be in his presence a couple of times a week, every week. It just makes me a better person training to be a leader because I want to be a leader just like him. Hopefully I'll be a badass like him. But so yeah, that's what I'm striving toward. So it's a real treat to have him on the show. I'm so blessed. So thank you so much. I just want to introduce you guys to Dariusz Walczak.
Thank you, Beverly. Oh my God, it was that opening is it's great. I mean, you're definitely one of the leaders,
Oh,
and then
thank
you have,
you.
and it's the passion, it's there. So now
Yes,
it's the podcast, right? Which is great. Well,
right.
look, thank you for having me here. It's a
No,
privilege
thank
to.
you. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about when we first met. Uh, one of the first impressions I had of you was, I mean, I just thought you were super intense. I noticed immediately that you have a vibration that's higher than most people. Like, I was just like, wow, this guy's a little intimidating. But at the same time, I was just like, I couldn't stop listening because everything that was coming out of your mouth was just straight up, golden nuggets. So that's was my first impression of you, and it's incredible because you have an incredible team who have that same kind of vibration. So it's very a, what is the word, contagious. It's contagious.
Oh, is
And
it okay?
yes, yes. So
But
before we get into just talking about what you're passionate about, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Like, where are you from? What is this accent I'm hearing? Where is that from?
oh, okay. So of course, the accent is something that I was born with. Right? You can't get out of it. But I hope you guys gonna understand me well, how I speak, right? But anyway, so I came from a small country in Central Europe or Eastern Europe called Poland, right? So it used to be a communist country back then when I was born, and that's where I came from. So I was born and raised there. I'm from a divorced family, which is I think that was the positive in my life more than negative. Um, but the reality is I grew up with my dad, and my mom was in the United States, and she left to United States for the reasons like many immigrants who came to the United States left basically to create a better future for us. And because living in communism, kind of tough childhood. We really didn't understand the childhood there because my parents, when they were very little, they created a lot of like games kind of things. So staying at night in the line for food because there's only one shipment per month, right? And then you don't have the money to pay. You pay with like the blocks of
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Is it like
like a
rationed out?
coupons, right? It's like a lot of people don't understand this. For us, that was fun as a kid. Like, what are we doing? Like in the middle of the night in the line with like hundreds of other people. But my parents were actually like, if we're not gonna be in the line, you guys gonna be hungry, right? But they never let us feel. They never, me and my sister, we were there with them, right? So they never let us feel that is something that will make us sad. Uh, so I started understanding. I understood that when I was already in the United States. When I was looking back, like, gosh, why did get divorced? Why my mom moved to the United States and all this stuff, right? So she had a chance and she took it, and without that I wouldn't immigrated basically. So that's where I came from. Beautiful country. Now it's totally different, but back then it was kind of tough. So
Wow. I didn't know that you came from a single parent household. That's to me, like, I feel like people who come from that, sense of family, you have a little bit more mental toughness than others because, your parent is, you have double the load on them. And, I'm come from a single kind of a single parent household too. My father passed away when I was young, I was in high school. And my mom,
mhm,
she was just, she was a beast. She just handled it,
right.
and and I'm a single parent too. So I know what that's like. It's not easy. It's
Right.
not easy. But uh, when exactly did you come to America? Like, were you already grown up or were you still a kid? Like, when did you move here?
Right. So I grew up with my dad. So he used to be a military guy. So it's like having a single dad he was more of the like, hey, how you make your bed, that's how you're gonna sleep. Like he didn't really care much. And as long as I was in the bed when he came home, and I was up by like 6 a.m. and everything was clean in my room, that was good. But anything in between, he didn't care much. So that gave me kind of this freedom sense that as long as I'm not messing with what his rules are, I'll be fine. But it also created this with me, like I could explore and try different things, right? But I had to stay away from troubles and be at home at night and all those things. So like a lot of times, like things like drugs, alcohol, it was like, no, he will kill me if stuff
Right.
like that happened, right? But so I grew up with him by age. So I went to I finished high school. I went to college, right? I dropped out from college. I couldn't really financially support myself in college, so I had to work. So that was kind of tough. And I also played professional sports back in Europe. So all these things on my plate, basically, you're not stay at home and and be ruled by amazing dad. I wouldn't say nothing but amazing dad, but with his tough rules. So I want to stay out of home. So at age 22, I literally was in receive a call from my mom, and she says, "Well, son, I want you to come to the United States." And I'm like, "Well, I travel a lot around Europe and other countries. I haven't been to the United States yet, but I have a job right now. I have a car here." I'm like, "Well, what the heck? Let me just try it, see how it is. What is all this American dream about?" So I came here at age 22. No papers, tourist visa, not one word in English, so just to let you know, no driver license, nothing like that. Some savings, and that's how I started here. So age 22,
Wow,
and I
that's
landed. I don't know if you're familiar with Southern California, but I landed in a neighborhood where there were heavily populated with Latinos and Vietnamese. And here it is, white boy, don't speak any English, heavy accent. And by the way, my luggage was stolen, right? So from that, it flew to different countries. So it's kind of crazy trip. I had it. So I had this white Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. When you go to Costco, buy like 10 for $1, right? And I mean 10 for 10, so $1 each, and some kind of workers' boots and jeans. So I did, I don't know if my mom and her, I mean now ex-husband too, but they didn't recognize I kind of look like a white cholo or something like that. I don't know who's listening to but in my opinion, it's like, I'm not a gangster here. I want to make a friend, but they look at me like, holy cow, what is this guy doing here? So,
no,
so that's how I started, and then I mean, well, I mean, always positive, by the way.
that's a great story. I can't believe that your luggage, I mean, you come here, you can't speak English, and you end up in this neighborhood where you're just standing out like a sore thumb, and then Yeah, that's a crazy experience. I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you. Were you scared?
You know what? So at first you're scared because you look at it, you look at people try to say something, and you know, you don't know, but a lot of like people who live in the communities, right? They don't even speak much English between each other, right? So they speak in different languages. So I couldn't even I couldn't. For me, it was like shocking. You know, I came from the country when everybody speaks Polish, right? So the communication is never an issue. But I'll tell you something. After, like, I know being different actually attracts people too. So at first they're scared, they're kind of intimidated, right? But then it attracts people. So I use my natural skills to communicate with people. So first thing I went to this again. I went back to Costco and I bought the basketball, right? And I said, okay, I'm gonna go to local parks and I'm gonna make all of them my friends. We're gonna play ball, and we did. So that's how I started. So I pick up some of the words they use, they with the sports and playing as in a team, and that's what I actually did back in Poland, right? I played professional basketball. It helped me actually start in the United States and communicate with people, right? Especially in the beginning.
That's a cool story. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so I just wanted to ask you because this business that you're in now, the financial services, I mean, you're such a powerful force there, like were you always passionate about business or like when did you get this entrepreneurial mindset? Like when did that get introduced into your life?
It's a good question, and it has parts to it. So I always look at it, my parents. So my dad was typical 9 to 5 employee, with a lot of rules and stuff like that. My mom was a little bit more of the free thinker, and when she left Poland, she actually opened her business. So she left Poland first. She came back, opened her business. She had used to have a clothing stores, right? And that didn't work out well. Well, I was like probably, I don't know, 6, 7 year old kid. So that didn't work out very well. So I know this only from the stories, my older sister and when we talk right now, because I'm really in a good I communicate with both parents right now. So the thing is, so I think that was the beginning. Like, I wasn't afraid of seeing someone failing in the business because my mom failed. She bankrupted her clothing company, and she moved. She left to United States for good after that, right? And here she wasn't really an entrepreneur. So when I moved to United States, of course, in my mind wasn't like I want to have my own company, open the business. However, somewhere deep down there, I always knew I want to have my own office, my own. I want to be like a CEO, like someone who's. I want to be somebody, by the way, like somebody with a status position. However, that's not how I started here. I've literally started my first job here was because I didn't know what to do, no English, no papers. I clean houses. I cleaned houses for 3 months, and then I said that's not for me. And you move to the United States and you look at the US, like we knew United States, like Hollywood, Sunset, all this. We knew this from the movies. So we're like, oh wow, that's like a dream place to be. But I'm like, well, where is that dream when I came here?
Right.
Right. So I cleaned houses for 3 months. I mean, it's not like I just wanted to do something. I'm not a kind of type of guy who I'm gonna sit at home and just waste my time. I couldn't afford to travel. So I said, well, I had a little bit of money here and there, but I'm like, okay, well, let me find out some employment. So I went to church, local church. They said, oh, we need a cleaning for people. I said, okay, sure. So that was my first thing. The second job was like, I think I did some carpenting. And then finally I went on this magical website called Craigslist, and I'm like, I'm gonna find something there. It's so cool, everything looks the same. And that was like, so I saw the offer. I need a personal assistant, something like that. I respond to it. With my broken English, I drove to, I think it was North Hollywood. Yeah, it was North Hollywood. And there's this big warehouse, and this guy comes in and it's like, oh, you're the one who responded for Chris. I'm like, yeah. So he's pointing out on those big machines. I didn't know what are they, but they're forklifts, right? And he's like, can you drive this? And I'm like, oh, of course I can, right? I'm like, I had no idea how to drive those, but he's like, well, I need to liquidate all this stuff so I can pay you that much. And I'll be gone for 2 weeks, but if you liquidate this whole warehouse, and these ladies right there, they will tell you where to move those stuff. I said, yeah, sure, boss. So now I got different employment, and I'm like, but here's something. So, because when I was a kid, my dad always lived me like, how are you going to make your bed? That's how you're going to sleep. He didn't make bed for me. He didn't make things for me. He always would tell me, hey, figure it out. If they close the door, use the window. So I knew very early that I had to learn. So here, I'm like, here I am in this country. I'm like, I got to learn. So I learned how to drive this forklift thing, right? I learned from how to operate with those Latinos ladies who were basically running this warehouse. And I started, and I'm kind of curious what I'm moving, right? So I was moving one of the, cosmetic companies he was liquidating. So I'm like, hey, no, wait a minute, this guy's a business owner, he's a businessman. So to tell you the truth, that was the pretty much first person in the United States when I look it up to. I'm like, when he came back after like 3 weeks, I finished my work at 2 weeks in 2 weeks. So the next week I just was studying what this guy is doing, right? Because my plan was I'm going to ask him for more employment, but sure, I'm not going to, I don't want to move more of the warehouses, right? So I asked him, hey, so he came back and said, oh my God, you did a good job and all this stuff. But I have no work for you. I'm like, no. You do have a job. I already look at your stuff. You own other businesses. I'm like, I can do different stuff too. And he says, okay, well, I'll meet you at this pharmacy in Encino and on Monday. And he says, but I can only pay you the same amount of money. And I want you to be there between 10 and 3. Monday to Friday. I said, sure. So I walked to the pharmacy in Encino, California, big building. Everybody's like, it's a kind of higher middle class area. And I walked to this pharmacy and has like 20 plus employees. Everybody's like, whoa, who's this guy? And he's pulling out from the kitchen, like, well, there wasn't even a kitchen, was a room stuck with all the boxes. He's pulling out this small shredder, like literally shredder like this. And he's like, can you shred all these boxes? They're full of papers. Can you shred them for a whole month? And that's your job. And I'm like, this guy's got to be kidding me, right? I'm like, well, but I told him, I can do anything you ask me for, and I want to grow. I'm like, okay, well, sure. Well, sure. I'm like, dang, it's like, I didn't even know that shredder is going to get jammed every like 2 minutes, right? But anyway, here is me shredding the papers, and it's my another employment, right? And everybody is kind of making fun of me because there's like pharmacists there, techs, some doctors comes in, people from the building, and who this guy is, sitting there and shredding the papers for a whole month. So, and again, you shredding the papers and you start looking at it, what are you shredding? Like, how his business runs and everything. So when he came back after a month, he says, well, again, I don't have much to do for you. I'm like, no, you do. We can improve here. We can improve here. I can do this. And sooner or later, I actually climbed the ladder in his organization. I was running 2 of his companies, but that wasn't entrepreneurship. That was still employment. And to be honest with you, Beverly, I was super tired of it because, kind of doing this work that you didn't like, even if then you got promoted to manager to this. I'm like, gosh, I'm still feeling like in a cage. Where's that dream? Right, when I'm gonna be able to actually afford something here, So one day I learned something new again, and I came to. By the way, I started my own online business. That was my first business when I was employed, right? By this great guy, my first mentor. And I came one day to him. I said, like, look, I have an idea. I wanted to go outside of the business, bring more revenue. I know I can do this. And he was like, that's a great idea, but I'm still going to pay you your salary. and I want equity, and I wanted to get I want to get more, because I thought I'm going to have my own business, like kind of connected to him. And he says, no. And I said, and he wanted me to stay, but I shake hands with him and I say, oh, you know what? That's okay. We're on the two different pages. So I'm going to try it myself anyways. and that's how the entrepreneurship started. So basically it started like I'm unemployed. I still don't have a papers. I can't climb for unemployment. I am literally in my apartment listening to myself like, what the hell did you just did? You fire yourself. Your little side business, you're selling some stuff online. It's literally like it wasn't pre-Amazon thing. So, so it's not like very popular. Like, and you're literally draining to your savings. What are you gonna do? And I literally, yes, I was literally figuring out what I want to do. So I start consult. So I basically, the idea I had I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna find someone who's gonna need me. And my idea, my consulting, and I found it. I found a small manufacturer of pharmaceutical products, and I told them like, look, I want to be independent. I want to go out there and bring the revenue. And I either want to have a only commission structure or equity. So they gave me a commission, but I was independent. I could control my own time. And that's how the entrepreneurship started. After 5-6 years, we made this small manufacturer a lot of money. I built my first team. I opened my first, like a coffee shop, a retail store that I thought is going to be run by someone else. And it wasn't. so I was failing. And so I went through. So and then I have another idea, do another business with someone that failed too. But I was consulting all the time for basically to keep a revenue coming in. And sometimes I'm going to have a second job at night, because as an immigrant person who has no papers, I was in the process of getting my papers, right? I always was living with this fear every day, like, well, what if they find out and they fire me, right? Or what if I get into trouble, right? And that was the, but that was kind of fear. So I always want to have a second source of income. And also I knew like my mom had a business and she bankrupted, right? Like how can you bankrupt? So I knew I have to keep taking actions in the right direction, and maybe one day I will be successful. So to kind of wrap this up, because I could probably write a book on this. Maybe one day I will. It's really there was one unsuccessful business, second one, third one, fourth. I think it was my sixth. I was involved in the 6 different journeys, I would say, businesses independently, while I was still working as a consultant, kind of independently, but still on the not having my own company. That was failures, but I learned a lot from it before I actually went to we start financial services.
Yeah. You know what, Darius? Like, this story really impresses me because, like, you just from the beginning, just from, this guy is like, he just tells you to do all these whatever jobs, but you were just like, what you got? And then you learned the fact that you took the initiative to learn the business, even when he wasn't even there, and you brought your own, you created work for yourself. Like, that is just amazing. A lot of people don't have that, that drive to just, move forward that way, and to, create work for yourself. Like, that is just impressive to me, like that you did all of that.
Well, Beverly, I would say it's like a lot of people don't have that. I think everybody has that. They just don't know. They couldn't discover that. So I've noticed this with me. Like, when I had no choice, I look at like, how there have to be the way. Like, I'm not easy to sell when someone tell me like, you got to do this and you got to do this for the rest of your life. I'm like, no, I want this house. I want some, like, I don't believe we were, we're existing just to, be put into some place and do that for the rest of our lives. And basically that results in paying your bills and go back to work, right? When I moved to this country, I'm like, then I came from the country when we were really, really poor. Like, we literally I don't like to talk about this, but I'll tell you, like, when I was living with my dad, we thought we're doing fine, but one weekend, our electricity was shut down. And that was like Thursday. And, it is not like automated thing. So we have to stay in there was a winter time, right? With a little candlelight since like Thursday to Tuesday next day. And to me, it was like, oh my God, you live in this place where, I mean, country where people knows about you, they talk about you, right? So you're already like, oh, man, they all know, like we didn't pay our bills. So I came to my dad, I said, Dad, what happened? My dad was suffering, he was recovering from heart attack. And he's like, he started crying. He says, tough guy, start crying. He says, well, son, I forgot to pay the bill. I said, well, you got to tell me about it. I could pay him because I already had a job there, you know. So I pay for it. But that kind of thing, when I came to the United States, I'm like, wait a minute, here is easy. You just have to keep trying. And nobody really here judges you. I mean, people judge you every day, but they kind of like different people here, because this is everybody's here. Like everybody's different. Like you look, Beverly. I mean, we're same, but we're different, right? I mean, like we didn't came from the same culture, right? So here I realized, look, I had no choice. Now I have nobody to pay my bills here. Yeah, I either gonna go back home and try to figure out over there what I'm gonna do, or I'm gonna do something here. So I did make a decision, like, you know what? Let me take as much actions in this life I have to create something that I can actually be proud of and have something meaningful and be passionate about something. Because the reality is, like, I wasn't passionate about many things in my life, you know, before. I couldn't find the meaning of what I'm doing, right? I was just saying that, well, I'm going to take actions and trying to have more, earn more, do something different until I found it.
Right.
And I did found it. So
no, I truly believe that, like, your experiences in life, like if you don't make the effort in having experiences, you're not gonna be exposed to something that could be something you're passionate about, you know. And that's what I wanted to talk about with you next was like just me and you, for example. Like, we would never have met under any other circumstance besides working together in this business. Like, we come from two totally different worlds, you know what I mean? And like, even, you know, I don't think I even met anybody from Poland until I met you, to tell you the truth.
Really?
There's no,
okay.
I don't know if there's any Polish people in Hawaii. I don't know if there is.
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
They are. Sure they are. They're everywhere.
Yeah, I haven't met any, but
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, so, but the thing is, like, through this business, this experience, you know, that I was brought into randomly during quarantine, like, the associations, the power of associations, like the fact that we get to interact, you know, on a weekly basis now, you know, and it's just the experiences that you have in your life. It opens doors for you. It opens opportunities, and the people that you expose yourself to, you know, every single day, it just so, and most of the time people are just not open to seeing the opportunities, but depending on what you're doing and what you're feeling, if you're passionate about it, you'll be able to recognize what that is. So can you tell me, like, what was your experience with the power of associations? What do you feel about that? Like, especially in business, like, how powerful is that?
I'll tell you, it's everything. That's how powerful it is. But here are some things. I had to learn myself how to listen to people and take the best out of them. So many times in the beginning, especially so my failing in the business it came from because I wanted to be the smartest guy and do everything myself. And I will be more negative than positive and criticize a lot of these people I met along the way, pointing out what they do wrong instead of look at what they do right. So so the association came, like, when I realized, like, wait a minute, negative can only produce negative. Why am I not focusing what's positive about these people and learn from them and do it better? So you see, when I met some of our colleagues right here in financial business, I look at it, wow, oh my God, they're not much different than I am. Did I like them in the beginning? All of them? No. There's some stuff that I'm like, man, come on. I'm totally different, right? I might not like this person. Maybe this person is too slow. This one is too fast. This one has different style. I didn't like it, but I realized it's in business world. It's nothing about like it. It's not what you like it. It's what you're gonna get out of it, and how this can, how you can learn from it and to build yourself in it, right? So I remove this like, not like. I just say, you know what? Forget it. These people are farther than I am in life. They're more successful. Maybe they have more time. Maybe they're better father or husband, right? Maybe they have more money, more whatever it is. I look at it as like, well, okay, well, let me find out what they do differently than others, and then without me judging them like or not like, and just take the best out of it. And then automatically I will start changing it, right? And when you know people on the deeper level, right, you start seeing their values. So you start kind of liking it, like this, it rubs on you, right? So to me, it was like a crave, believe it or not. My very first person was my like business mentor outside of the first employer I had. It was Grant Cardone. And the funny thing is, I applied for a job at his place when he used to live in California, and I couldn't get it. Didn't have papers, so they didn't hire me. But the reality is, he had such a better opinion about him around the community. I one of my gigs, part-time gigs, people don't know this, but I clean pools in Hollywood Hills. I used to I grabbed the guy on the street, and I said, like, look, can I help you? I know you're going to you clean pools in those houses. He's like, I cannot pay you more, but why you didn't need to work with me, right? I'm like, well, I was recovering from some injury. I had it with a car accident, and I said, I need something to do. I don't expect you to pay me a lot, but I just want to see it, sell myself the dream seed. Who lives in those houses, right? What do they do? And that's how I met Grant Cardone, right? And because we were cleaning one of his pools, and I asked him for work. We had a conversation. But the thing is, I also clean the pools in other houses, right? And I heard a lot of opinions about he's a scam, he is this, blah, blah, blah. So me, I'm like, wait a minute, but these people have to do something right here. So I apply this rule to myself, like, look, take the best out of it with removing all the noise while you're removing all the noise. So literally, what did I learn? Well, I learned that you got to invest in your knowledge. There are some people who have knowledge and they write books, they create audios. So I'm like, why never read book in English? How am I going to do it? And he handed me this 10x rule book, which I actually have right here.
Oh, he gave that to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's not a very, if you know Grant, he'll say, go to this page and order it. It was like $37. And don't ask me if you want to be expensive, if you want to be rich, don't ask me why it's so expensive. You will find in this book a lot of things why. So I didn't ask for price. I just paid for it. I read it, and yes, and that literally, because of that interaction, that association, I went from very cleaning pools on a part-time basis, being in transition of work, negative in my bank account, to over 120,000 income that year. So again,
this is what I'm talking about, Darius. Like, you created that opportunity for yourself by finding the pool. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is just, it's really cool to me that you did that. You put the effort into, and you didn't care how you met these people or if you were even going to meet these people, but you put yourself in that situation where that opportunity came up to you.
Well, Beverly, it's not an easy thing to do. But it also, like sitting in an apartment, knowing that the rent is coming to due, knowing that you're not going to meet anybody here, knowing that, there's so much world out there that you haven't explored yet, actually forced me. So to me, it was like, I like to sell myself good thing. Like, the reason why I was in Hollywood is I was like, wait a minute, Los Angeles is a huge, it's a huge city, and there's some areas you don't want to be, right? And I didn't live in the nice area. I lived in the area where like it was pretty bad. So on the weekends I will drive my car to the hills. I want to just taste that life, I mean, not taste, like feel it better, kind of look at it, these views, from the hills, like. And I was always questioning myself, who lives in these places? So I'm like, and by how can like, if I'm gonna approach someone, they're gonna run, my accent is. But there's this guy who drives there every day. He always say hi to me, right? Every weekend. So I say, it was a pool man. He's a friendly guy to everybody. So I don't know, something triggered me that day to ask him to if I can help him, and that's how it started, you know. So since that, I'll tell you, whenever I go something I don't know, I found I'll always like to find the person who runs the place and who is the successful in it, right? And I'm gonna meet with him like I'm a student. With approach, I'm a student. I'm not a person who has attitude. So I'm here to learn.
Yeah,
You know,
you're coachable. That is,
well, learning and coachability is different things, but you can learn. You learn how you learn really, but then you apply it. But being really coachable, like really coachability starts when I was like when I in the financial services. When I'm like, okay, you got your own office, you have your own responsibility, you have your wife relies on you, you have a baby, you have it, and then like, okay, can I take so many chances, try things right now, or I have to be really coachable to execute in the right. So I didn't have look, when you have responsibilities, you better be coachable because you can't just learn by trying and listening to people, you know?
right.
So I made that decision like, okay, being coach was not easy. You gotta really, really do stuff that is not comfortable. But I said, but if you do, then you're gonna be executing on a different pace, and the bills will be paid, and things gonna start moving forward. So yeah,
Yeah.
so when I really committed full time into being a business owner, and I had a lot of in stake.
Who who brought you into the business like initially? Like was it your wife?
That's a good question. Well, my wife is the reason why I am in the business. However, we were approached to the about the business financial services years prior, and I was ignorant to it. I was closed-minded. I wasn't really open um, to it, and good friends of mine was inviting me to this presentation, inviting me to their office. I had my own thing going on, and I didn't really allow myself to explore that business until my wife was actually in the business. And one day she came and she says, look, you're working too hard and you're too smart. You're rough on the edges, but that's okay to really make little of the money you make. And I'm like, what are you talking about, woman? We make six figures. We drive nice cars. We live in a nice place. So I gave her attitude. And then literally we were newly married. She was pregnant. So I said we got pregnant. I gained a lot of weight. By the way, we're this in this like honeymoon stage in our relationship, and she's like, hey, we're going to Vegas. It's your birthday. We're going to Vegas. I reserved already the hotel. Don't worry about it. And I work hard. I know I got things like I've got family right now that's I need to take care of. And I'm consulting in the pharmaceutical industry. I have this coffee shop on the side, is not doing well. So, and she's complaining we're not making enough money. I'm like, gosh, how? Because I was pushing myself. If she says we're not making enough money, so I mean, family needs to be very expensive, right? Because I never had an experience like that. I didn't grow up with other children. I hardly knew anybody with children. So, but anyway, and we're going to Vegas, and I'm looking at my, every guy who goes to Vegas looks like, okay, how much can I gonna have to spend, right? Where do we stay? Do I have extra money? Maybe some playing cards is my birthday, right? And I look at this, and she's like, she's driving, and I'm looking at her, looking at this. I'm like, honey, we're staying for 1 week. I thought you only gonna go like 2 days for my birthday. I'm like, I can't afford to be there for a whole week. I gotta be at work. And the second thing is, what is that convention Bill doing that? So I gave her nightmare on the way to Vegas. Like I was
loving the
upset.
story. Keep going.
I was upset, but I tell you, she actually. So we came to Vegas. We argued there, right? And the next morning we're like, oh yeah, we got to be in this convention, right? So 8 a.m. we're going there. It's early, and then I'm shocked because I've seen people just like me, just like you, Beverly, and everybody's happy and everybody's like talking to each other, and there's a lot of energy, and I mean, this is prior everything started, right? Like we were there early because they told us to be there early. They gave us this badges. I didn't even bring the suits with me, so I'm like wearing the t-shirt. I'm like, oh my god! And everybody's like kind of dressed up there. MGM Grand. I never been in the arena where 20,000 people is there, and they start filling up. And I start talking to. I talked to Nate, right? You know Nate, and this was the first person I talked to. And I'm like, gosh, this guy is no different than I am. He's maybe 1 year younger than I am, and he's making double amount of money than I do. And he has a lot of friends. He looks like there's no stress. I came here with stress. He's no stress. Everybody's cool with him, and older, younger, different nationalities, different ethnicities. And I asked him, like, man, how you've been doing this? Like, you've been in the financial services? Like, yeah. Like, how much do you make? I asked him. It's like, well, he gave me a number. I'm like, oh my God. Then, I turned my mode like, dude, it's a learning mode right now. Like, you better apologize to your wife. This is a learning mode. There's some people here who are really making that much money, and there are somebody here, right? So I literally sat down, I pulled up my cell phone, I'm like, oh my God. And I said that Zygarde was born because I got excited, now it's a shift of the attitude. Right. That's what happened. Now, I am not in the business yet. Keep in mind this. And so I'm going to this convention and I'm like learning. I'm like, oh my God, I could do this, that way, the things like in my life. I could do that way. So I'm like, who's the leader here in this group, right? And then I look at this that Nate pointed out to Jeff, right? So I walked with Jeff and I say, hey, we need to talk. He's like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, well, I heard you were like kind of leader here. He's like, who told you that? He's very humble, right? I said, well, listen, can I have a word with you after this call meeting? He's like, yeah, well, you can come to my office. Here's my business card. And on Wednesday, I have time on Wednesday at 6 p.m. I said, well, that's like 40 miles away from where I am. Okay, I'm coming. And that's how I started a business.
Oh, wow. I love this story so much. You know what? I have to like reach out to your wife. she's the one who brought you in, really, to bring you to that convention.
Yeah, well, she was brought in by my friends, so they couldn't kind of get me in it, but she was brought in by them. And she'll tell you probably the story was a little bit different because wife, husband, we always. But but that's how we pretty much started, and then.
But again, the power of associations, like you being in the room with that energy, all the people who were successful in the business and, with that leadership mindset, like how can you not like feel that vibe and, want to learn more? Like, I just think that is so cool. I've never been to a convention like that. I've only been to the virtual one because, I was brought in during quarantine, right. But I hear about it. You guys talk about it all the time. And I'm just like imagining the day that I get to go there in person, because I can imagine how powerful it is to just feel that energy in person. It must be so different.
Well, it's not only powerful, but you also meet people and you get to hear their stories, right? And then you realize, like, what am I complaining about in my life, right?
Right.
Like you're passionate about people, Beverly, right? Like for me, that's when actually I was passionate, because when you make already some money, right? And then like the money might not be the drive for you anymore. Then you start looking into other things that you can be passionate about, because I was never passionate about money. But when I heard people's stories and that live event, and because we interact in person, it's not only the speakers, not only the knowledge, you're like, oh my God, like I thought I have a tough time here, but it's like compared to who, to what, right? And with this energy, and I'm like, so I create that association after that. I was like, man, when is the next convention? Like literally, month later, I'm like, where are we going again, right?
Yeah. So what? That's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is because the stories is what I love. Like it just, that's what drives me. Like I love to hear these stories, and it doesn't even have to be a rags to riches story yet, but if someone has that dream that they want to move towards, like that's enough for me. I'm hooked, like I want to hear more, right. That's so cool. That's very cool.
That is something that it's worth living for, to be associated with people who have dreams and they're going somewhere.
I agree.
You know, we kind of live in a society where, and this is like, I can't stand that. You know, we live in a society where everything is like you're like it's like black and white, but people love to be in this gray area. Like,
yeah, you're right. The gray area.
Like that gray area. I don't like that. You know, I'm either doing things or I don't do things.
Right,
you know?
right. But you'd be surprised like how many people are comfortable in that area. You know, like what is the least amount of work I can do to just survive? You know, like I can't do that either. Like I don't like being in that space. I like growing, that feeling of, you know, moving somewhere, having something to work toward. That's what I like. That's what makes me feel alive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So just talking about like your now in your team, like you have a lot of team members now, and you have a bunch of people to lead. You know, you have to be an influence over them, and you have to be able to really show them how to be successful like you. And so can you tell me what your experience is with that? Like what kind of mindset do you have to be a good leader? And like if you have any advice for the listeners, you know, like what is your top 5 tips that you can give to the audience who have that desire to be a leader and have a big team under them?
Well, you know, this is a great question, and there's no right wrong answers in it, and there are a lot of books that people can read, and people who are more qualified than I am to be in a position to maybe answer even those better. But I'll tell you from my experience. And so you say like 5 things. There's never 5 things. There's a million things that you have to, or if you want to be in a leadership position, you probably wanted to apply in your life. I'll tell you one thing I've learned. The very first thing before you're a leader, you have to be a disciplined person to yourself, and you have to be very honest with yourself and what you want. You know, so I think being a leader starts before you have a team, or before you have everything. Like kind of like a team could be in your family, right? But what leader to me is like, it's a responsibility. Number one thing is a responsibility. So I have to own my actions. Everything I do, I have to own it. And now when you have a team, and my team started with, you know, my wife, and that's my team, and Alyssa, you know, we were pregnant with Alyssa. That was so now I have a leadership. So I'm the leader of the ship, right? And the ship is either going to go somewhere or not. So I have to lead. So I have to lead myself, not the ship. I have to lead myself, and they'll follow. Because you know how it is. So that's one of the things. You tell people what to do, they don't do it. They do opposite. Mm-hmm. But if you show them, if you do it, so you're the walk talk person. I always so that's why. So the way I pick associations, like you have to be a doer. You know, there's a lot of gurus, there's a lot of leaders, a lot of people who are just telling you what to do. But I'm magnifying with people and align myself with people who are doing it. So to me, it's like, try to tell a woman to do something, right? I'm gonna do it. Try to tell a kid to do something. They're usually not gonna do it, right? So I understand I have to do it myself first. So that's the number one tip. You do it yourself. You're leading yourself, and that really, to the nutshell, you have to be disciplined. So get clear on what you want, where you're going, what your vision is, and then do it yourself first. Now, of course, if your team do not understand where you're going, you don't communicate the message, the vision, where are we going, what do we want. You know, we're in the process of moving right now, right? So, and you know, I was talking about the place we're moving probably about a year ago, and you heard that through the pandemic last year, like, oh, okay, that God, Darius wants this kind of place and this, that, right? So to me, second thing is, when you're a leader, you're not only leading yourself, but you have to sell the dream to where you're going, to your team. And your closest team is not someone, your coworker, it's actually a team that is always with you. The 5 people you associate yourself with, right? You gotta sell them on it first. So that's my kind of like a leadership tip. And then we go to the team building, right? Which is in your company, you build a team, or I mean, I never wanted to be solo entrepreneur or winning in life by myself. I'm very passionate when people are getting to what they want, right? So the leadership tip number 3, let's say, it's I've noticed, like, if I can't connect with them, which is I need to listen to people. How do you listen to people? You ask them the questions, what they want, where they're going. And when I know already what they want, I can help them, give them direction. I can show them how it's done, but by being relevant to their situation. Because, we're all in different place in life, right? Like,
Right.
so like you said, Darius, you're intense. Well, I am, it came from basketball, from the military family, I am intense. But then when I talk to someone who's not that intense, right? If I don't understand where they came from, what they really want, what's their real goal is, how can I lead them?
Right.
I can't lead them, right? So I learned this from this book of John Maxwell, right? Great leaders ask good questions.
Mm-hmm.
Or good leaders ask great questions. Whichever is that's a great book. So you have to know what people want and what their needs are and what they're willing to do to get there, and you can give them direction. You can give them opportunity to do it, but you have to show them the way, right? So basically, it's continuously expanding my own vision, my own dream, to accommodate all of these people I lead, and they became my responsibility. I'll be honest with you, being a leader is not an easy and famous position or anything like that. You, like, I had to drop my attitude. I know I'm gonna be judged. It's nothing to being a leader is nothing to be likable, not likable. Like, you're gonna have to take a hit. It's not always. It's never about you.
Right.
Or like, you're the one person who is exposed. So be prepared. You have to be vulnerable and exposed. So you got to be real with yourself. And how do you learn that? Well, the best way to learn that is actually work with other leaders. Work with someone, but work with doers, because the doers are the ones who are real, who are relevant to you, who are doing this currently. Like, there's a lot of people who may become successful in life, whatever. And that was like 20 years ago. And it's irrelevant today.
Right.
So that's kind of tip. And the last one I'll tell you is it has to be something bigger than yourself. Like, I am when I started in the business, it was how we can make the life better for ourselves. That's how I started, right? What can I get? Can I get a new house? Can I get a new car? Can I get a new Rolex? Whatever it is, right? But then once you get to this, that's okay to get to those. Once you get to those things, because you can get to those by yourself, you lead yourself to get to those things. That's okay, right? Then you start looking at this, how can I make other people's life better? But you can make other people's lives better if your life is not better. So you're creating the win-win situations for everyone. Right. Small, big. Something small for you might be a moving mountain for someone else. Then I realized, like, wait a minute, this is much bigger than I thought. So I'm looking at, like, well, what's the next generation is going to look like? So my like tip on leadership, like, you got to think bigger, because it's not about you. It's about the next generation. Like, how possible, I mean, this, like, I always ask my team that question, how possible you think your children, your grandchildren, they will be any successful on somebody in life without you being example for them, right? And by the way, we always example to someone, but it's a good or bad thing, right? We could be a bad example, right? So to me, it's like, how can I be a best example possible for the next generation? And yes, I am willing to take as many criticism and hits and chances on me to make sure they don't have to go through this, right? Or if they go through this, they'll have the example how to actually break it through. So to summarize this, like, hey, you know what? Stick with your vision. Do it first. Involve your team. Sell them your vision on it. Listen to them what they want. It must be for them as well. And the last thing is, it's bigger than you, so don't you ever quit.
Wow, Darius. I was taking notes here. You're dropping some golden nuggets. Thank you so much. That was amazing. I love it. So, I mean, that is just So cool. I love your story. Your story is just pumping me up. Like I hope the audience, I know the audience is gonna like, be inspired by this too. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
And this is a question that I actually asked my very first guest on the show, and I was very intrigued with the answer. And I know everybody has different opinions about this, so I'm actually very I want to know what you have to say about it. So my question to you is, what do you think the difference between mediocrity and greatness is? And I don't know if this is something that you've always desired. Like for me, like I've always thought that I wanted to do something big in life, like I always wanted to make an impact on people, in a big way, not just, in the shadow. Like I always, which is why I'm a musician and an artist, like, because that's what people do. If you're a musician and artist, you impact a lot of people with your art and your
Mhm.
creativity.
Right.
But like, I don't know if this is something you've always desired. Have you ever dreamed like, I want to do something great in life, and like I just want to know like what your definitions of it, the difference between mediocrity and greatness, and do you have a clear vision of what your greatness looks like? And can you tell us about what that is?
Oh my goodness, that's that's a $1 million question.
I know. That's
Well,
why I love hearing people's answers to this.
you know, so let's define the mediocrity and greatness. So let's put this like how I first time understood that. I mean, you want to really know this guy answering it. I'm promoting it. No, I'm not promoting it. Get to know some people who are refusing mediocrity. But for me, it was like this. I didn't know what to refuse, what not to refuse in life, right? I kind of take a life like as it is, like, and I'm getting passionate, excited about it. But then over time, we're like, dang, it's another same thing another day. So I look at this like, I came from the family of eaters. We like to eat.
Me
So,
too.
and when you live in the and when you learn things, so that you learn different. Like when you go to a restaurant and say it's a Mexican food or it's an Indian food, you know, they all have different tastes and different spices, right? And my culture is like, okay, we use a lot of salt and pepper. It's like a mediocrity to me is like it's like a food without spices. It's so bland. It's not. It doesn't excite you at all. It doesn't move you. Doesn't dig you. But then, so you got to be in that life like a salt or pepper. You know, you got to spicing things up or peppering things up, right?
Right.
Now, if you overdo it, you might kill yourself. You might affect others too, kill others too. So, but in my opinion, is like I will never know what I'm capable of doing if I wouldn't push myself to the extreme. And you can see this in the athletes, maybe because my background was athlete. So I like to compete. I like the feeling of winning. So, for me, nothing in mediocrity gets you that excitement, gets you that high. So, in my opinion, say mediocre, like average, it's a disease because eventually creates depression, eventually creates things like, and I was there in my life, like drinking, taking drugs. Well, bomb, I shouldn't say that, but I did, right? Uh, that was me when I was very medical. And I realized, like, then I got to find this excitement in life. I got to find this stretch in myself. So I had a choice doing being a salt or pepper, right? I mean, both will kill you or overdo, and I look as a right or wrong, or like doing the wrong thing, doing the right thing in your life. But I don't want to stay the same. So I applied from the sports. I said, okay, well, put that put a target on something you want and stretch yourself as much as you can to do it. Like, I mean, like, do something crazy about it to get there. But as long as it's moral and ethical, right? And just do it. And I realized, people say, well, how did you stay on course? I'm like, well, it's all about the price and all about being focused about it. If I really knew I wanted to and I wanted to challenge myself over on my way there, the price became irrelevant because I already knew I'm going to get it in my vision or in my heart. I already had that. But what became the passion, the the road there, the things that what I learned. Because when you push yourself, when you try new things, when you learn new skills, you're realizing like, oh my God, like I didn't know I could do that, right?
Right.
And
You stretch your vision.
and that's where the real hype comes from. Like this adrenaline in me, for me, it comes from that. So I want that feeling. Like for me, I take more. I'm more excited from stuff that I'm uncomfortable doing than from the stuff that I'm comfortable. Like I'm not excited about, watching the show. Well, I do watch some shows, right? But some people are like, whoa, look, it's our Netflix time, right? And they will go like they'll be there like every Friday. To me, like I might do that one Friday, but like the next Friday, like there's so much world out there. So to me, I refuse to be that person. I need to take action. I got to move, right? Because for me, so keep this in mind. In motion, when you move, we create emotion, and emotion things happen. Emotions happens in motion. Experiences happen. So you can be really hooked on life when you create a lot of emotions, but the positive ones, right? Like, look, people don't know what winning is until they win something.
Right. And you're not going to win if you don't compete.
And you don't try, right? And you don't know, by the way, you got to get to some losses because that's where you learn, right?
Right.
And it's so sad. Like most people say, oh, I didn't win, so I'm going to quit because it's not for me. To me, it's like, damn, well, it was fun to compete, So like eating that plain food, like, good, like spice it up. Maybe you spice it too much. Next time, spice it the right amount. It's going to taste better, right? Whatever it is, it's like, keep moving, keep getting excited about life. Well, I'll tell you. So to me, to answer like complete this question is like, man, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, Beverly, on this world. I don't know. It might be today, might be tomorrow, might be 20, 50 years. I like to believe I'm living up to 120 and I'm healthy. Why? Because there's so much more experience I can create. And those experiences when I challenge myself, so I have to be uncomfortable to create real experiences for my daughter, for my wife, for my team. So to me, nothing grows in mediocrity. But when you're the one who can pave the way and challenge yourself, you can rob those experiences to another, and then they can actually see how much potential they have. And by the way, there's always someone who's learning, who's listening, who's being impacted by things you do, by your actions. And like I said, if there's a win-win situation for them, and if they're willing to take the journey with you, it's even more fun, I'll tell you my first getting out of mediocrity was really, it was when I met Zygarde, right? I was like, oh my God, I went to so many relationships before, it didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. I mean, I'm kind of driven person, not much on the settle person. And she's like, on our second day, like, hey, I don't have time to date. I want to have a family in this. I'm like, whoa. hold on, amiga, right? And I said, and literally, that was first time like, oh, wait a minute, this is new. I never experienced that. This is making me feel uncomfortable. Dude, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. You got to go for it. And I'm like, okay, 3 months later, we're engaged. 6 months later, we're married. In 7 months, she was pregnant right after we were married. We changed our career totally. She fired her boss. She got me into the business, right? I saw, like, we moved to the different cities. And I was like, why? How did you like? Well, man, I was spicing it up our life. I was creating these experiences. You don't have to know where you're going. As long as you have a strong faith, you have something you care about, and families. And the faith for me, it's a love. It's nothing to do with religion, it's a love. That is something that is so, it can be positive, create positive. Look, two people, lovebirds, creating life. What can go wrong? If I could think about what can go wrong, then that all things will collapse. So I have to move forward, not have time to think. So reality is faith, that love, family, that I said, well, I'm going to have something I never had it. I'm going to have really my own team. then I look at it, okay, well, how fit we are for that. We're not. So we got to get fit financially. We got to get fit physically. We got to get fit somehow, right? We got to be fit to make the run. So I'm like, okay, well, we got to pay attention to those things, right? Especially your finances. So make more money, get serious about it, right? Pursue it. And that's all happening on the same time. And can we have a fun doing it, right? Yes, you have to, right? So, accepting things they are, laugh from things that used to make you angry, right? Whatever. No judge, taking kind of chill pill.
Right, right.
And the one or last thing is like freedom. Freedom of making decision choices, and freedom of other people who their noise, who complain, distract you, tell you yes, tell you no, don't do it, do it. No, be so present and engaged in your own moving forward that anything else doesn't matter.
Thank you
And
so much for sharing. This is like so like, you and Zaida, you guys are such a perfect pair. Like you guys just complement each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like
we're not, no.
no, but you guys have just moved forward, so you guys are like a force to be reckoned with. That's how I look at you guys. You know what I mean? You guys are a good team together, and you have to be if you're a family, that's good to see, and it's very inspiring to see you guys.
Beverly, speaking of that, I appreciate you said that. I hope we are good examples for others. But the reality is we want to be examples to ourselves too. So the thing is, we decide to keep moving forward. There's nothing to dwell about past, about what thing didn't work out. As long as there's a team and we have this vision and dream where we're going, and could be something small, could be something for Alyssa, could be something we do together. We refuse to go backwards. There's something that when you looking for freedom, it's only moving forward ahead, and it's fun when you really get people on the same boat with you. So
Mhm.
with Zaina and myself, we're not perfect couple. Nobody is. We're not perfect family. I mean, it maybe looks like that, but it's not. But the point is, we continuously moving forward and learning from each other, and we come to the plate with like, how can we improve each other? How can we remove the anger and build this? Because the reality is, look, we're all gonna get old, and one thing I refuse to be old and be by myself. I don't want to reject. I don't want to be in the last day of my life. Dude, you mess up so much your life that you're by yourself, and you could have already these people with you. If you made that life about them or with them, right? And by the way, I don't know where our journey is going to take us, but the reality is, I live both by those principles: faith, family, fitness, fun, freedom, right? Finances. These are those things that are important for me, and for my wife there are too. So we're gonna do everything possible in this life to make sure in the last day in our lives we're not alone. We actually influence people, we impact them, and then they create their own teams, their own families, and whatever it is. It can be single mom, single dad, but you have kids, that's your team, right? I learned very very quickly in my life that your first team might not be your family, right? I was from the divorced family, but I
Mhm.
said, like, you have to have those principles, and that, to me, that represents life. That represents giving life to next generation. Because
Right.
reality is, with that kind of synergy, what happens? Well, the babies are born, right? And these are the biggest fun, right? You have
Right.
children,
Yes.
you have children, Beverly, right? So that's what the life is for me about. The next generation, and if God let me see them going through this stuff, building their own team, having their own children, uh, and hopefully they learn something from us, that they're gonna actually keep going, uh, not go the wrong direction, right? But if they will, we can help them out to, even if God allows us, right? And anyway, so that's the whole journey for me.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Like it's very inspiring, and I am so blessed that I get to interact with you on a weekly basis. Like I learned so much from you, and the fact that Jeff is our mentor. He's the leader of our team.
Mm,
Um, it's just so blessed because you guys all have that same mentality, and it's that same
right.
direction where I want to go too. So I know, I'm just so grateful that I get to be associated with you guys. It just makes me feel pumped, like I just want it makes me
You
feel
know,
pumped, like, and then it makes me feel like I can do it.
that
So,
works both ways. We're pumped to have you as well because the reality is the energy has to be transferred.
right.
Without you, Beverly, we wouldn't be the people we are, and that's the fact.
Yeah. That
That
that's
this is where the fulfillment comes from. When you able to, there's something. I'm gonna leave with this: interactions with people. They're create three things. Best interaction, like the ones that they're gonna like a uh, tree gonna bear the fruit, right?
mhm,
So interaction between people when they bear the fruit is like it's supposed to touch you. It's supposed to touch you. The story is something there, right? It's supposed to touch you, be touching interactions. Second thing is it designed to move you, right? Because if something is touching you, might push you to move to take action, right? Move you. And the third one is inspire you, inspire you to actually take a lead and create those interactions with others. Because that's to me very important when I interact with people. You know, it's literally, I mean, it's not always happen, right? Those three things at the same time. But if they do happen, touch, move, inspire, man, then there's this synergy. And that person is like want to be around that associate. We want to be around them too.
mhm,
And it's basically creates something that's called, I call this magic, it's because
right.
it's really, really contagious with others. And yeah, I love that, so like I said, you creating the podcast and something that, I'm like, I have nothing, I don't know nothing about it. I was telling you, I should have my own. It's
You
kind of a good
should.
idea. It's kind of a good idea, right? But anyway, so you're already being inspired. You're already creating stuff on your own, and that's something we learn from you as well. So I'm
Yeah,
just
I couldn't have said it better myself, Darius. Like that is just so powerful, and that's the heat of what this show is about. You know what I mean? You just hit it right on the head. So, this is
awesome.
a
Well,
great, yeah.
I hope you continue on your journey with podcast. I feel like people's stories has to be shared and has to have to be heard. I love the people like you that creates the good news
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
when we turn the TV, when we turn the box, there's a lot of bad news.
I know. I don't like
and
looking at it.
most people are the recipients of news, not the creators of news.
Hmm.
And then that's the mediocrity, being a recipient, being above average. Like, hey, create something, go create the news.
Right,
Let people
right.
feel you, touch people, move
Yeah,
them,
and spread
inspire
the
them, right?
love.
Yeah,
Spread the love. That's
exactly.
like
We
what I
need
want to
more
do.
of this. We need more of this around. So I'm super happy that you're doing it. If I can be any help, hey, just reach out and then we'll go from there.
Thank
But
you so much.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Oh,
I
no
really had a good time
problem.
too.
Yes.
I'm
Yay.
gonna interview you too. Trust me
Yes.
on that.
I'll totally do it. So I just want to, this is a perfect place to end this episode here, and I hope you guys were taking notes out there because I mean, he was just dropping free nuggets left and right. So thank you so much, Darius. I appreciate you, and I just want to thank the audience. Thank you so much for being here and listening on Dark Horse Matters. And until next week, just remember how important it is to find your purpose in life. Go out looking for it. I mean, a lot of times just interacting with people that inspire you, it opens the door to finding that purpose. So don't be afraid. Just, go for it. And, until next week, you guys, thank you so much and be passionate.
Thank you.